Welcome back, Forging friends. We are now starting on Mass Mutations after we finished our Worlds Collide box. And as you can see down here, we got Sanctum, Dis, Starlines, Shadows, Untamed, Saurians, and Logos. No Brobnar. So hopefully we find some good decks in here. Let's crack this box open and we'll start on our first deck. Now, this box has a couple things that we're really looking forward to seeing if we can get. I'd love to see, one or more decks with a gigantic creature. And I'd love to see a deck with the Sins as well. One or more of the Sins, I don't know if I'll get a 7-Sin deck, but ideally at least a few Sins. So let's start with this one and see what we got. All right, this one is Dis, Shadows, and Saurians. It is Zentilront, the Duke of Arboretum, with a very Dis-looking Archon, a very spidery insect-looking Archon. Interesting. Let's crack it open and see what we got. Putting the Archon card down and squaring it up, we are starting with Shadows. We have Xenothief, a 3-power creature with Elusive and Fight. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put one into your hand and one on the bottom of your deck. Great card for efficiency. It's a little slow since we have to fight with it, but you can offer some efficiency. Safe House is an artifact with an Amber Pip. Action, archive a friendly creature from play. Can pull back something that's been damaged or something with a good play effect and play it again. Perplexing Sophistry, an action card with an Amber Pip. Play, if you have more amber than your opponent, they discard a random card from their hand, and you draw a card. Fantastic. Good disruption. Lights Out is an action card with an Amber Pip. Play, return 2 enemy creatures to their owner's hand. Big disruption there. So far, very disruptive deck. Borrow is an action card with an Amber Pip. Play, take control of an enemy artifact. While under your control, it belongs to House Shadows instead of its original house. That can be huge, depending on how reliant your opponent is on artifacts. We have the Shoulder Id, a 6-power creature with Taunt, and it cannot fight. When it would deal damage, you steal 1 amber instead. There's some really great plays with this card. Oh, we have 2 of them, and this one has a bonus Amber Pip, which we'll see a lot more of in this Mass Mutations box. We have, did I say bonus Amber? I said it meant bonus Capture Pip. I don't know if I said that correctly. We have Seeker Needle, an artifact with action. Deal 1 damage to a creature. If this damage destroys that creature, gain 1 amber. If we had a Bad Penny or a Rad Penny, ooh, wow, 2 of those. A Bad Penny or a Rad Penny would be a good combo. Opportunist is an upgrade with an Amber Pip. This creature gains Elusive, and play, this creature captures 1 amber from its opponent. We have Bo Nithing, a 2-power creature with play. Steal 1 for each forge key your opponent has. Good mid to late game play. Oh, we have 2 of them. Wow. Going on to Saurians, we have Monument to Faust, an action card. Artifact with an action. Keys cost +1 amber during your opponent's next turn. If Faust the Great is in your discard pile, keys cost +2 amber during your opponent's next turn instead. Well, we're guaranteed to have Faust the Great when we have this card. That's great. Great constant ways of keeping our opponent, off key potentially every Saurian turn. Then we have Legion's March, an action card with an Amber Pip and a bonus, enhanced damage pip. Play for the remainder of the turn. After you use a dinosaur creature, deal 1 damage to each non-dinosaur creature. Wow. So I don't know if I've seen this card very often. So you use any dinosaur creature. So basically we want to have a board of mainly Saurian creatures, and then we can kind of deal a bunch of damage. If we have a Misery Exploit in Dis, we can make a lot of use of that. There's Pterodactyl, a huge 12-power creature that enters play stunned and only deals 4 damage when fighting, but before fight, you deal 4 damage to each neighbor of the creature this one fights. So this is great to get around taunts and just to kind of just really take care of your opponent's board. Then we have Stomp, an action card with an Amber Pip. Play, deal 5 damage to a creature. If this damage destroys that creature, exalt a friendly creature. Just take care of the creature. 5 damage is huge. Saurian Egg is a creature with an Amber Pip, 1 power, 5 armor. Saurian Egg cannot fight or reap. And Omni, on any turn, you can discard the top 2 cards of your deck. If you discard any Saurian creatures this way, put them into play ready, give them 3+1 power counters, and destroy Saurian Egg. So obviously we want to have a lot of Saurian creatures in this deck. And so far we have, I think, one, one, not counting this guy. So we'll see. We'll be able to get a use out of him. Humble is an action card with an Amber Pip. Play exhaust a creature. If you do, move 3 amber from that creature to the common supply. All right, if we have good ways of capturing, I think we have a couple good ways of capturing, so this might be useful, actually. There's Faust the Great, a 4-power creature. Your opponent's keys cost +1 amber for each friendly creature with amber on it. Play, you may exalt a friendly creature. I have lost many a game thanks to this guy. Cornus and Octavia is a 5-power 1-armor creature. With action, capture 2 amber. Good to have some captures on some big creatures. Chant of Hubris, an action card with an Amber Pip. Play, move 1 amber from a creature to another creature. Beware the Ides, an action card with an Amber Pip and an enhanced capture pip. Play, deal 23 damage to a creature in the center of its controller's battle line. A very specific number, but this is great for taking care of a lot of those leader cards that like to be in the center. And we have 2 of those, this one with just an Amber Pip. Axiom of Grisk, an action card with play, ward a creature, destroy each creature with no amber on it, and gain 2 chains. So that was all we had in Saurians, not too many creatures, but let's see what we have in Dis. Lyco Fiend is a 3-power creature with Skirmish, and destroyed, steal 1 amber. Orb of Invidious is an artifact with an Amber Pip. After a creature reaps, stun it, both yours and your opponent's. There's Lord Invidious himself, the 5-power 0-armor leader. He's elusive, and while he's in the center of your battle line, it gains Reap, take control of an enemy flank creature, and exhaust it. While under your control, it belongs to House Dis. So he's a huge target, obviously, but he can kind of disrupt your opponent's board quite a bit. Snudge, a 4-power creature with Fight Reap, return an artifact or flank creature to its owner's hand. Can be very annoying. Pandemonium, a action card with an Amber Pip. Play, each undamaged creature captures 1 from its opponent. Good capture. Waking Nightmare is an action card with an Amber Pip. Play, keys cost +1 amber for each Dis creature in play during your opponent's next turn. So we want more Dis creatures. But we have another one of these, Amber Pip, of course. Snurret, a 4-power creature. At the end of your turn, capture 1 amber. Action, move each amber from Snurret to the common supply. Very dangerous card that your opponent will obviously target as early as possible. Cinder, a 6-power 2-armor creature with Taunt, and when he reaps, you have to destroy a friendly creature. So if we have any good destroyed effects, that'd be great to pair with this guy. Gateway to Dis, an action card with play, destroy each creature, gain 3 chains. Classic board wipe. Drekker, a 4-power creature with damage dealt to Drekker's neighbors during fights, is also dealt to Drekker. And Reap, steal 1 amber. And Dark Minion is the last card. It is a 1-power creature, and when he's destroyed, deal 1 damage to each enemy creature. All right, so we'll do the counts. New to Mass Mutation, so we're going to do our best to do the counts and guess the SAS, but we might have to relearn things since we don't have to deal with so much Brobnar anymore. So let me split the cards up, and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I have separated the cards out. Let's see how many creatures we have in this deck. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16, it's a little less than we're used to seeing in Worlds Collide, but it might be pretty good for this deck. We'll see. For Amber on the cards, we have 1 from the Saurian Egg, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And I think... yeah, 16. 16 creatures, 16 amber on the cards. Pretty even there. Looking at amber control. Anything that kind of disrupts our opponents from getting keys or amber. So starting off, we have this. So 1, 2, 3. Can capture 1. Got to keep an eye out for capture pips. 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's see. 8. 9, 10, 11. Wow, 11 so far. 12. 12. So 12 cards that in some way take our opponent's ambers, and we have that Pandemonium that actually does a lot of, it could potentially do a lot of amber control, so that's pretty good. Looking at creature control, looking at anything that damages or destroys a creature, just inherently. We have a Dark Minion. When it's destroyed, it deals 1 damage, so that's 1 card. Two, this doesn't damage or destroy, but it gets rid of enemy creatures for a turn. So it's 2. 3. Yeah, 3. This is another big card for that. 4. 5, 6. 7. Prevents creatures from reaping. I'll say 6.5. 6.5 to include that one. 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5. Wow, 10.5 cards that control creatures. Looking at efficiency, things that let us use cards off house or draw cards during our turn. We have this. Let's just look at get 1 card in our hand and put a card at the bottom of our deck. So that's 1. Okay. Yeah, so that's 1 for efficiency so far. Efficiency. So I think just 1. Oh, actually, that's disruption. So yeah, I think just 1 so far for efficiency still. And these two give us chains, right? So that'll be a -1 for efficiency overall. Okay. I think I missed artifact control, but this is the only artifact control we have, this borrow, which is really good, you know, taking control of our opponent's artifact, as long as it's not one of those artifacts that provide a blanket effect, like a Quixel Stone. Borrow won't really help you in that regard, but this deck doesn't have a huge number of creatures. It has an average number of creatures, I would say, so not too big a deal. For recursion, moving to recursion, I think we have at least one thing that'll let us recur. Oh yeah, it was the that Shadows artifact. Yeah, the safe house. Let archive a friendly creature from play. I like that a lot because we have some creatures with some decent play effects. We have not so much the Faust the Great, but we have 2 Bo-Nithings. So we could potentially play 1 on our turn and get some amber, and then archive it away to play it again the next Shadows turn we have, which is really cool. As far as other play effects, that's not really the case. So really, the safe house in this deck is for the Bo-Nithings, which is really nice. That's the only recursion I believe we have. And then disruption, things that get rid of cards from our opponent's hands, and also generally keep them from playing the game the way they want to play it. So let's see. Yeah, so this is more creature control though. Well, since that's creature control, maybe I should say 11.5 for creature control. 12.5 because this is also creature control. So 12.5 for creature control actually. But looking at disruption, I don't know that we had anything. I thought we had one thing that got rid of a card from our opponent's hand. Maybe not in the creatures. Let's look at the amber cards. Oh, it's all falling down. The amber cards. Yeah, this is a random card from your opponent's hand. So that's 1 disruption. One so far. All right, so 1 disruption. So looking at this deck overall, I think it's pretty interesting. Its game plan is, play a lot of creatures and play a lot of amber cards at the same time. But, pretty standard win condition from what we've seen. Generally we're playing a lot of creatures, and it's a pretty predictable game plan. Nothing completely out of the ordinary. We do have these 2 Seeker Needles that will kind of keep plinking our opponents for damage, which is nice. And we can potentially get some amber off of these as well. And we have good ways of controlling the board. So even though we don't have a huge number of creatures, and it's kind of a missed opportunity, we only have 4 Saurian creatures. Really big missed opportunity there. But we have some really good Saurian action cards to make up for it. And overall, some good kit. So let's make our first SAS guess for Mass Mutation. I'm going to say, since the houses are really good and there's some synergy here between them, let's give it a 68. Let's say that this is a 68. It might be in the 70s, but we're going to learn how Mass Mutation kind of calcs it out. Go ahead and make your guess, and we'll see you at our desktop. All right, welcome back to my desktop. I have the link copied. I set a 68. For the guess. I'm locking that 68 in. I think it's a good deck. It's got a lot of things going for it. The problem is that the Saurian house, generally speaking, wants a lot of creatures, and this deck only had 4 Saurian creatures. But the action cards that came with the Saurians are very, very good, so it might offset it and make it go into the 70s, but I'm locking in the 68, so go ahead and make your guess, and let's see what we got. Here we go. 72, so a little bit higher than what I thought. It was in the 70s. Let's see what we have here. So we have amber control, 15 amber control. We're losing 0.25 from the stomp. So because you have to exalt a creature if you destroy a creature with stomp, but other than that, nothing is taking away from our amber control in particular. The Snarette being the highest since it has the ability to get amber every turn. We have 2 artifact control. Actually, we have that Snudge. I forgot about counting that one. I just counted the Borrow. Snudge can also return an artifact to the owner's hand, so that's something to consider. The expected amber, we are losing some expected amber from the Snarette, Cornicent Octavia, Pterodactyl. Those 3 are taking away amber from us. I wonder if our opponent has no amber if we have to capture 1 from our own side. Because it's not optional, right? Is that a downside of Snarette? If there is no amber on your opponent's pool, we have to capture 1 from our own side? I guess that makes sense. It doesn't say 1 from your opponent. Okay. Keep that in mind. And then also, what was taking away? Cornicent Octavia captures 2 amber. I guess because we always want to capture with him, that's why he's taking away expected amber. We don't really reap with him that often. And Pterodactyl because he comes into play stunned, probably. So, but besides that, the Bone Nithings, especially with that safe house, are really going to add up for our expected amber. That's going to be one of our main plays. And we have the positive Xenothief. Perplexing Sophistry also adds to our efficiency. That was the one that got rid of a card from our opponent's hand. Oh, and you draw a card. Okay, I didn't see that very ending. So Perplexing Sophistry, Saurian Egg could potentially give us some efficiency. True. And Risk and Gateway decrease our efficiency. Safe House Recursion and Snudge, Perplexing, and Lights Out for Disruption. Okay, so looking at our evaluation so far, we didn't count the negatives from Snarette, Cornicent, and Pterodactyl, but we also didn't count Perplexing Sophistry as positive, and we didn't count Lights Out as disruption as well. So certain cards that can actually add up to the SAS there, increase the SAS. So let's look at our synergies and anti-synergy. Yeah, Bonithing is great with the safe house, as we thought. The Snudge is great with things that protect it. Cinder, Opportunist, and Shoulder Id are great with Snudge. The Perplexing Sophistry is great because we have a high expected amber. That's really good. So we have things that capture amber. Pandemonium will be great into Axiom of Grisk for sure, as long as our opponent doesn't have a bunch of undamaged creatures captured as well. But that's a potential combo. Faust is great with Snurred, Pandemonium for sure. And what else? We're losing a little bit because we have that Legion's March that's damaging friendly creatures as well. So Pandemonium's got some anti-synergy with that, but not too much. We have a bunch of anti-synergy with the fact that we have so many non-dinosaur creatures. That Legion's March is going to be very damaging on our side if we have any kind of creatures. And then Orb of Invidious is also anti-synergy since we have a lot of good Reapers here as well. So we weren't too terribly far off. I said 68 and it was a 72. So thinking about it, I just missed a couple cards for the disruption, and I missed a couple cards for the efficiency, and I didn't consider the lacking of Reap from the Pterodactyl and the potential that Snurret could capture your own amber. So, and Snudge is also a artifact control as well. So, yeah, things to consider for the next time. But if you wanted to, go ahead and leave a comment with what you guessed down below. And if you like this, I appreciate a like, and please subscribe. All right, have a good day. Bye-bye.